Hello guys, my name's Ella. I'll start off my little story by saying that I'm using fake names that I made up in my mind. I come from a wealthy family, and so does my husband in the story. I have a feeling that this might get recognized, and trust me, I have had enough people coming up to me wanting to know all the juicy gossip. I don't want a repeat of that, so I will refer to myself as Ella and my husband as Ken. Ken and I got married after college because we were in love. We also belonged to the same social standing, so it wasn't a problem for us to get married. Ken managed his father's business while I was a stay-at-home wife. I really won't tell you lies by saying that my married life was horrible. Well, with its small ups and downs, it was actually pretty good. We were married blissfully for 3 years before everything went to hell. I noticed that Ken was starting to withdraw a little from me, and when I asked about it, he told me that it was work stress. So, like a good wife, I took extra care of him to ease his stress. Who knew that Ken had been planning to do something horrible to me? I didn't have a clue of what was about to happen to me in my marriage. This all started when my husband made a very weird declaration. When I married him, I knew that he came from a wealthy family and inherited a lot of assets after his father passed away. Plus, he was all set to inherit more wealth from his mother. I also knew that he was extremely possessive over his assets and didn't want to part with them. Imagine my surprise when he sat me down and told me this. Ella, I've been thinking about things for a while. You know that I have over 15 properties in several counties? Yes, you told me about it in the past. What's the matter? So I was thinking about transferring the properties to you. All of them. What? But why would you do that? They are your assets. You don't need to give me anything. Look, I know they're my assets, but we are married now, so you should have some of it too. I already work a good job and don't need the surplus income anyway. Consider the rent money from these properties to be your allowance. I'm still unsure why you're doing this. Aren't you scared that you will lose ownership of your inheritance? Actually, part of the reason is taxes. Since you don't work, you'll be paying less taxes after collecting rent. My job and these properties are making me lose a lot of money in taxes, so this is the best way to avoid that. I was extremely confused and skeptical about Ken's decision. This didn't seem like a good idea to me at all. I mean, his reasons were legit, but I found it hard to believe that he would just give me his assets for free. I was feeling a little suspicious of this entire thing. Mostly, I chalked it up to a prank and just went with what Ken said. After all, I couldn't stop him from signing his properties to me. I really did think that he was joking or pranking me. I was not prepared for my husband to call his best friend Seth to our house the next day. Let me tell you about Seth. He's actually a lawyer who specializes in property laws. He has been my husband's best friend since kindergarten. At first, I thought that he was in on this prank. Then I saw that they were both serious. They sat me down and said, "So, I take it that Ken has told you about his decision? He plans to transfer the house and 15 other properties of his to your name." Come on, guys, is this a prank or something? We are not seriously doing this. This is not a prank or a joke, Ella. I did tell you my reasoning for transferring the properties to you. I intend to follow through with my decision. And that's why I'm here, Ella. I have prepared all the papers so that you know what's going on. Ken is a good husband and doesn't want to keep you in the dark. That's right. I want you to know everything, Ella. You do have to know your assets so that you can collect their rent on time. Seth has already prepared all the documents. I was still pretty much in shock at this whole thing. At this point, both of them had convinced me that they meant business. I did read through the documents and found them pretty legit. Yes, I did have some knowledge of laws. I gave the papers back to Seth and saw that Ken swiftly put his signature on it. I really didn't know what to think. I was honored that Ken trusted me so much and was touched by his love for me. I quickly went to the kitchen to make coffee for all of us. When I was returning to the living room, this is the conversation I heard between Ken and Seth. God, I really didn't think Ella would be so stupid. I mean, I know she's dumb, but not that dumb. How the hell did she think that I would just give her my properties? You should be happy about this. Ella's stupidity made it easy for us to fool her. No one else would buy your bullshit excuse in any way. That is true, Seth. Thank God I married a dumb witch. It was easy to convince her that I gave her my properties. I will leave soon, and after 5 months I'll be back to sue her. I bet her parents will get involved, and I will end up getting a seamless divorce. Yeah, after you get that divorce, you'll be able to marry the girl of your dreams. See? I gave you the right idea to make Ella seem like a fraud. This way, you'll be able to avoid paying alimony. We live in an at-fault state, after all. The case won't even go to court, Seth. I can bet you $1,000 that Ella's parents will give me money and beg me to withdraw the case. Having a fraud case on their daughter will be bad for their image. They will agree to all divorce conditions to save face. And Mom also won't be mad at me for divorcing Ella. We did come up with a great plan, you know. Just that you have to be careful. Don't let Ella find out that you are having an affair. You were leaving to see her after all. Don't worry about that, Seth. I'm not a new player. I will tell Ella that I have a business trip coming, and then I will ghost her for 5 months. Then I will make up some excuses. Ken and Seth kept laughing about their plans while I remained frozen in my spot. I heard every word they said and knew the truth of the situation. My hands were shaking, so I quickly returned to the kitchen to compose myself. I had tears in my eyes and I didn't know what to think anymore. My own husband was cheating on me and planning to trap me in his schemes. No, he didn't love me at all. He didn't trust me blindly. All this was a trap to make me look bad and give him a smooth outlet to divorce me. Guys, I can't tell you how hard it was for me to hold myself together at that point. Still, I didn't want them to see how broken I was. I actually put on a poker face and gave Seth and Ken their coffee. Then I faked a headache and went to my room. I immediately called my mother-in-law to tell her about what was going on. She was a lady of morals and ethics, and that's why Ken was scared about pissing her off. I called Daisy, my mother-in-law, and told her everything. I was literally sobbing while recounting all that happened. Daisy listened to me patiently and then said, "My son has crossed all limits today. After he married you, I thought that he had finally grown some sense. Now I see that I completely failed to raise him right. He is an abomination to me. His father would be rolling in his grave right now." Daisy, what do I do now? I want to confront him and destroy everything around me, but I know that this will be a stupid idea. Of course it will be a stupid idea, Ella. You don't really have concrete proof of anything right now. If you confront him now, he will manage to clear any evidence of his affair. Then he might paint you out to be crazy. That is true, Daisy. It did cross my mind. Trust me, I don't want to stay one more moment in this house anymore. I'm disgusted by Ken. I'm not sad anymore. I'm just super angry. That's good, Ella. You need to be more angry than sad. My imbecile son has played you really bad. You can't let him get away with it. I won't let him get away with this, Daisy. I might be soft-hearted, but I can be vengeful when necessary. I do have a plan, Daisy. It just came to my mind. I'll tell you once I compose myself a little better. Daisy encouraged me to make a plan for revenge. God, I absolutely love this woman. She promised to support me no matter what. I was a little relieved to know that at least someone was on my side. I also informed my own parents to prepare them for what was about to come. They were shocked and super angry as well. While all this was going on, Ken came into our room and said, "Ella, aren't you happy that I transferred my properties to you? See, I love and trust you so much." "I'm happy, Ken. I guess it showed me how much you actually love me." I needed to know that. I am glad to know that, Ella. So I have to fly out for some business tomorrow. I have come to tell you about that. I'll be at a ton of meetings and stuff, so you don't have to worry when you don't hear back from me. You won't call at all? How long will you be gone? I'm not sure. I'll try to call, but I can't promise anything. This is an important business trip. I don't want to tell anyone anything until the deals are finalized, so don't tell Mom about this. I want to surprise her. I knew why Ken didn't want me to tell his mother. And I also knew why he didn't give me many details of the trip. In the past, I would have been worried about not knowing everything, but now I don't care anymore. I knew that he was going on vacation with his mistress and there was no business trip. Ken could try and fool me as much as he wanted. I already knew his plans. I wished him well and went back to my work. This time I called a private investigating agency to follow my husband and collect proof of his affair. I also accessed the CCTV footage of our living room to record the conversation Ken and Seth had that day. Yes, we have high-quality cameras and full audio recordings as well. Ken didn't remember that I could easily access footage and save it. He thought that I wouldn't suspect anything, and by the time I find something fishy, the recordings will be automatically deleted. He had no idea how wrong he was. The next morning, Ken left after saying his usual goodbyes. He did keep in touch for a few days, before just disappearing completely. No one could get in contact with him, so he had essentially gone missing. My private investigator later informed me that he was vacationing in another country with his affair partner and was using a different phone number there. He was actually in freaking Europe, having the time of his life and spending our money on another woman. I was fuming. I showed Daisy all the proof, and together we knew what to do. As promised, Ken didn't come back for 5 freaking months. He went on a vacation with his mistress and then was living with her in a different state. He actually bought her a house there, and they were presenting themselves as a happy couple. The more pictures I saw, the more angry I got. All my love for Ken had drained away. Meanwhile, I continued to collect rent money from the properties he signed over to me. They were a bunch of office spaces, so the income was good. As instructed by Ken, I went to all those properties and told them to send me the rent money. They didn't question it since Ken had informed them about a change. I was happy getting an extra income while plotting revenge against my horrible husband. When 5 months were up, he returned, fully prepared with court papers and all. Guys, this man didn't even have the guts to come back home. He sent his stupid friend to come and talk to me. I got an email that I was getting sued by Ken for wrongfully taking rent payments for his client. I didn't reply to it and just informed my mother-in-law about it. That day, Daisy called me to her house along with Ken to talk. I went to Daisy's place and saw them waiting for me. As soon as I walked in, Ken got up from his seat with an angry expression and said, "What are you doing here, Ella? How dare you show me your face after you cheated me out of money?" "Sit down, Ken. Why are you making a fuss? Let's talk about this calmly." "Mom, how can you take her side? She's a thief. I already told you what she has done. She needs to be in jail. And I have already sued her." "I know you sued me, Ken. I got the legal notice in my mail yesterday. Why didn't you come home and confront me? Why hide from me, Ken?" "I didn't come home because I don't want to see your face anymore. You betrayed me, Ella. This is horrible." "Oh, so you didn't come home because I took your rent money? But isn't that what you asked me to do?" "What nonsense, Ella. Why would I ever ask you to do that? I never said anything." "You didn't? Well, let's rewind a little. So you were telling me that you didn't tell me about transferring your properties to me before you left for your little vacation all around the world?" Ken looked a little flustered when I mentioned that. I wasn't supposed to know about the trip with his mistress after all, so he was confused about how I got to know about it. Since Daisy was present and listening intently, Ken was trying hard to keep his expressions neutral and not freak out. He said, "I never said those things, Ella. And what vacation? I was gone for work." "You don't recall anything? Well then, let me make things easier for you to remember. Remember how you and Seth showed me papers that you would let me get your properties? Then you left for work abroad?" "Don't drag Seth into this, Ella. He didn't do anything. You are making up stories. I don't even care, actually. Once you are in court, we will see what happens." "You want me to go to court, Ken?" "Well, I don't think that will happen." "What do you mean, Ella?" Ken seemed to be a little confused and even scared of what I was going to say. I think he was getting onto the fact that maybe I knew something. Daisy was also not looking very pleased and the atmosphere was tense, so I smiled a little and said, "Thank you for the properties, Ken, but I knew all about your plan. I knew that you were trying to trick me so that you could divorce me for financial fraud." "What? No! Why would I do that? This makes no sense." "I also know why you did it, Ken. I believe it's because you want to marry your mistress, who accompanied you on your 5-month trip around the world." Ken now looked absolutely dumbstruck at my revelation. He looked at me and Daisy, trying to gauge our reactions. He knew that he had been caught. Still, this idiot tried to defend himself and said, "These are all lies. You're just mad that your scam was caught. Don't make up lies about me, Ella. This is insane." "Are these really lies, Ken?" "Mom, what do you mean? Of course these are lies. I would never do something like this." "Oh, really, Ken? Is she lying or are you?" My mother-in-law is a champion. She straight away called Ken's bull and didn't beat around the bush. She had already seen all the proof and was exceptionally mad at her son. Meanwhile, her son was now shaking and stuttering. He said, "No, Mom, I didn't do anything. Why would you say that?" "Shut up, Ken. I know, and I have seen all the proof of your nasty plan." "That's right, Ken. I showed her the CCTV footage of our home where you and Seth had been laughing about your plan against me. We also know that you had an affair and took her to a grand trip in these past 5 months. We hired a private investigator and found out. We have all the proof we need, Ken. You have been caught red-handed." Ken continued to shake and his eyes went wide when we told him how we knew about his plan. The fact that we had so much evidence against him was something he had never predicted. He was super scared and kept shaking his head, trying to form a reply. It was funny to see him so scared. What made it satisfying was the fact that he had planned for me to react this way. This man was a monster. I said, "What happened, Ken? Cat got your tongue?" I'm sorry, I just..." "Enough, Ken. I don't want any more lies coming out of your mouth. You have crossed all limits of being a horrible human." "I'm sorry, Mom. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I just made a mistake." Calling this a mistake would be an understatement, Ken. I can't even look at you right now. Not only did you have an affair, but also tried to scam your own wife. This is just nasty. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, Ella, I'm so sorry. I will take back the legal notice and I will end my affair. This was all a stupid mistake. This wasn't a stupid mistake, Ken. You meticulously planned this to trap me. There will be consequences for you now. Ken absolutely freaked out and started to beg for forgiveness. He knew that his mother was super angry and she had a lot of power over his future and finances. So Ken was really starting to panic about what we would do to him now. He was right to be afraid because we did have some grand plans in our minds. Daisy said, "Oh, Ella is right about that, Ken. We do have some severe consequences for you. I'm actually thinking about disowning you completely and helping Ella take you to court." I am going to ask my father to pull his shares from your company and ask his friends to pull all their shares. And you will get the divorce you wished for after I tell everyone what a cheater you are. No, please don't do this, Ella. Please, let's talk and figure out a solution. I'm telling you, I will withdraw the case. I will also end my affair. I'm not happy with that, Ken. I need more. I need you to transfer your 15 properties to me for real. Then I will think about it. Ken more than agreed to do that and left hurriedly. I gave him time because I had more revenge planned for him. I sat there and laughed with Daisy, talking about our grand plan about Ken. He had no idea what we were going to do to him. I will tell you what happened next in a little detail. Ken made Seth actually file fresh papers for the property transfer. He also withdrew the case he had against me. From what my private investigator told me, he seemed to have broken up with his mistress, who then threw a fit and told everyone about it. It was just glorious because it came right after the property transfer was finalized. Once I made sure that the properties were really in my name, I served Ken's divorce papers. He was shocked because he wasn't expecting them at all. He thought that all would be well if he tried to backtrack and undo his wrongs. Sadly for him, the damage was done. Ken tried to fight me for the divorce but relented when I told him that I had proof of his affair. He had nothing in his hands anymore. Along with getting his 15 properties, I also got a huge chunk of his savings and fat alimony from the divorce settlements. Daisy made him comply with everything by threatening to disown him, so Ken had no option but to comply. In the end, he ended up getting divorced, and Daisy cut his inheritance in half anyway. She was a good mother-in-law and wanted to punish her son for what he did to me. Ken is now living alone since I got our house as well. What can I say? I got a better lawyer than him and had too much evidence against him. So I happily came out of the marriage while getting a lot of money and assets, while Ken lost almost everything in one go. Ken is still pretty upset about the whole thing and has a strained relationship with his family. His friendship with Seth is also coming to an end since everyone knows he helped my ex-husband with his dirty plan. Seth is also facing a lot of backlash, and his office gave him a warning for malpractice. Ken has become extremely alone and is trying his best to cope. He lost a lot of weight and doesn't look happy anymore. He tried to fool around and mess with me, but he got the short end of the stick in return. I hope he learned his lesson and will never try to do this again.